Today on Broward Teen News, we're at West Broward High School to learn about what has happened in the community.
Like a baseball tournament focused on giving back, a man's story of rags to riches, and the impact of cell phones, so stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Broward Teen News, West Broward Edition. I'm Mark Rodriguez.
And I'm Talia Kaplan. Today we're going to look inside our school to see some of the amazing things happening at West Broward and in the community.
Speaking of the community, a local horse nursery, Peaceful Ridge, concentrates on nursing abused and neglected horses. One horse, a thoroughbred named Logan, stands out among the others. Daniela Gainza can tell you the details about this neighborhood horse.
Located in Davie, Florida, Peaceful Ridge Rescue is a nonprofit organization for neglected and abused horses. Many residents come to volunteer daily, from families to students. Although there are many horses galloping in the sanctuary, a thoroughbred named Logan stood out from the rest of the pack.
Logan was practically skin and bones. He was in a very small stall, not able to walk around and move, piled up with hay and manure. They never cleaned it, and they never took care of it, and they just kept throwing food in there thinking, oh, he just needs food. When he first came here, I could put my hands around his neck. He looked like this big brown giraffe. You should never have a horse's neck be that skinny unless it was just born. It's unacceptable. So when I was able to do that, I mean, I was in tears.
No animal, no matter the circumstance, should have to suffer the way Logan did. But where there is darkness, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. The path to Logan's recovery didn't come overnight.
As soon as the dentist came, the equine dentist came, filed his teeth down, he started gaining weight right away. And when he started feeling food actually hit his belly, he was ravenous. He wanted to eat like all the time. It took a solid year. So right now he's healthy enough where we're building up Logan's muscle, so he's starting to look really good.
Although being part of Peaceful Ridge family became an important portion of Logan's life, finding a forever home is his next chapter.
For Logan, I would be ecstatic if he got adopted, where he could be at a nice ranch with open fields. I would love that for him.
In an ideal world, Logan will be adopted in the near future. At the moment, he is happy in his temporary home. This has been Daniela Gainza reporting.
No matter how extreme, everyone has faced adversity in their lives. Fabio Naranjo was able to overcome the obstacles that were thrown at him. Madison Privet has the story.
Abandoning everything you know to try to acquire a new, better life is no easy task. For Fabio Naranjo, achieving the American dream didn't come overnight. The need to assimilate proved to be extremely challenging.
I arrived in the United States on December 4th, 1979. It was quite difficult. Obviously, I didn't speak English, and I remember applying for my first job at a McDonald's restaurant. Called the manager, the only manager who spoke Spanish, a Puerto Rican, at the store every day to give me the job.
Having to become the new man of the house helped Fabio mature exponentially.
McDonald's actually served a very good training ground for me, in more ways than one. When I came to Chicago, we came at the time of a very bad economic recession. My father had lost his job in 1978, so my sister and I, working at McDonald's, as little as it was helping pay the rent. My sister and I will give my mom the check, our checks, and my mom will use it to pay our rent. So when I came in there, I didn't speak English, right? So the only job that I could and would do was clean the bathrooms, the dining room, outside, sweeping and mopping, cleaning the windows. So I was very eager to learn English. Once I learned English, the sky was the limit. Within 2 years, I became a crew chief. So they switched my uniforms from burgundy to blue. That's where the uniforms of the crew chiefs at the time. And then 2.5 years after I started the job, I was an assistant manager. And then I stayed as an assistant manager until I left in 1986.
Although the drive was there to succeed, having a family that acted as a strong support system was key.
The odds are stacked against any immigrant, especially who's coming from a non-English speaking country, right? I'm very lucky, I'm very privileged. Number one, I had a supportive environment at home, right? I came every night to a home where there were mom and dad. I had siblings there. Those support systems actually made my adjustment to the new society and new culture much easier.
Through all the adversity that comes in the way of an immigrant, Fabio was lucky enough to overcome it all, unlike many others in the demographic.
I think is very much based on individual circumstances, okay, and based on abilities and desires and an impetus, internal impetus that a person brings. Unfortunately, a lot of folks fall through the cracks, sometimes through no fault of their own. I think that the challenges may be stacked against them in a way that may prevent them from making progress. La esperanza es lo último que se pierde, And hope is the last thing you have to lose. And I'm not going to lose it.
For WBTV, I'm Madison Privet.
With everything we have learned, it's time for a quick break.
When we get back, we will show you how innovations in the technological world have become part of our everyday lives.
And how West Broward's very own strive to help women all around the community. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Looking around, smartphones are dominant in today's society, but people seem to overlook technology's impact on individuality and how harmful it can be. Sophie Reese shines light on the issue.
There's over 7.5 billion people on the planet, and most of us have the audacity to think we matter. This mentality, while humbling, is also devastating to feelings of self-worth, especially in today's day and age. According to the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, a diagnosis of major depression has risen dramatically by 33% since 2013. The rate of depression found in millennials is rising by 47%, which is even higher. But why? One of the factors we can contribute this to is technology. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter that is known as the feel-good hormone, is released when we receive texts, likes, and follows. Dopamine, however, is the same chemical that makes us feel good when one drinks, smokes, and gambles. This hormone is also correlated to the trauma one feels when they're unfriended. It is highly addictive and leads to high stress and anxiety through adolescence. This, as a result, deters millennials from having deep, meaningful relationships. The equivalent of turning to the bottle rather than friends and family is the epidemic of today's cultural norms. Social media causes you to want to apply filters, not only on your pictures, but your happiness. Therapeutic educator Sage Day explains the effect of constantly scrolling past these filtered images and how it can shape our worldview and convey ideas about what is seen as normal and important by our peers, making those who can't match these praised images seem inferior, therefore plummeting our self-esteem. This issue is one that we shouldn't become numb to. The solution is a mixed balance of time spent on the phone and time spent actually interacting with each other. In this world of over 7 billion people, it's important to know that everyone, no matter how much society, technology, and our environment has conformed us not to be, is unique and their own person. I'm Sophie Reese reporting.
School safety is an issue that has been talked about more in the last year than ever before. But finding an effective solution to the issue is harder than it seems. Kylie Bolanos has more.
Filled with an abundance of roses, chocolate, and love flying through the air, Valentine's Day is supposed to be a day full of love and embracing the people closest to us. But on this day in 2018, the only thing flying through the air were bullets in Parkland, Florida. The events of this day would lead to the third deadliest school shooting in United States history, following Virginia Tech and Sandy Hook. After the events of this day, the hunger for safer schools has never been stronger. Parents, students, and teachers alike are desperate for a change. However, everything in the world comes at a price, and schools nearby cannot afford to equip themselves with the newest technologies.
I think it would take a lot of budget to replace the current safety precautions we have. I think that's our number one barrier for sure. I'm part of our safety team committee that we have here, and everything that we've tried to suggest beyond what we're doing right now, most of the time when we're told we can't do something, it's a budget thing. It's, that costs $30,000. This costs this much money. It's like beyond our hands.
Many people have let out cries for help, begging for schools to become safer. Policies that have always been in code of conduct started to become more enforced after Valentine's Day. But some are skeptical and do not believe these regulations are doing much, if anything at all.
The new policies are we have to wear IDs when we get into school, and we all have one entrance in the mornings when before we had like 3 or 4.
In the hallways, it seems that most of them just put their their IDs in their backpacks and walking around. I don't see them.
I was never a believer in the whole wearing an IDs thing because I knew from the very beginning that's all it was. It was all just a false sense of security. It was all just something that the school board did to be like, oh, this is what we're doing now because now that all this has happened, we need to do something. I feel like it was just like a people pleaser.
When things are calm, it is human nature to become complacent. Once complacency settles into schools, no one minds the safety precautions like wearing an identification badge or coming through a single point of entry as seriously as when first enforced. The schools are trying to find ways to get all students to abide by the policies. But with defiance being a common factor, this could be more difficult than expected.
So we need to think of ways, and the school is trying to think of ways of how can we make it an incentive for the students to wear the IDs, that it's not a punishment if you don't have it, but you can't get into the media center without it. Or maybe you need, in order to buy a prom ticket, you need to show your ID. To get into prom, have your ID.
I just believe, unfortunately, both at this age and in the sort of society we're in, if you don't offer people something for doing something or don't force them to do it, they're not going to do it.
There is always a talk about how students are the number one priority. This statement could not be true because the step to extreme safety in schools has not been implemented, and it all comes down to the money being spent in the wrong areas.
They passed state laws that are supposed to make this safety a rule now. Of course, they didn't give us a budget to make those laws take effect. They just passed laws that said we had to do it. We're trying to do the best we can within the budget we're given. I think there's a lot more that can be done if the state and the county would give us the money to do it. I'm sad to say that a lot comes down to money, but unfortunately it does.
They haven't put bulletproof windows in the doors because of budget, but they remodeled the gym and they gave us new bleachers for the football field. When we don't even have football games, I think they should take our safety into way more consideration, given the fact that the school system preaches how the youth is the future. If we're the future, shouldn't you care a little more about us?
Since 2012, Bats Against Breast Cancer has been an annual event held by West Broward's baseball team in efforts to raise funds for breast cancer treatment. Tyler Cohen takes a swing at the story.
For the past 7 years, West Broward High School has been home to Bats Against Breast Cancer. Not only is this a thrilling baseball tournament, but more importantly, a community event to help raise funds for breast cancer treatment. Although breast cancer is a national epidemic, keeping the money raised locally gives those who donate money a sense of security and pride when they are able to see exactly where the money is going.
Originally, it was Coach Ambrose's idea that he wanted the boys to give back to the community. He wanted to do it with the event of breast cancer. He felt he was very passionate about it. We came up with the idea of doing a fundraiser, and he originally thought about giving it to breast cancer research. And I came into play with working at the hospital and saying keep the money in the community so that it's helping people that could live next door to one of the baseball players or an aunt or uncle that are related to one of the baseball players, instead of putting it nationally, keeping it locally and it being funded 100%. There's no overhead in the foundation.
There are many ways to fundraise for breast cancer, but baseball allows the players to have a little more purpose to play than normal. The drive to support a patient surpasses any other type of motive that is usually found in more common fundraisers.
Well, this one stands out very different because we have teenage men that are contributing to raising this money. Instead of it being the girls cheerleading or the girls walking or whatever other way that they may raise, we have the young men contributing to an important cause. That unfortunately 1 in 8 women will have this disease, and they will come in contact with someone during their life of having this disease, and now they can learn the face of it and how to participate and give back to their community for such a great cause.
The amount of work that goes into planning doesn't go unnoticed, and seeing the final results makes the event worthwhile. It encourages participants to do it again the following year, and gets others excited to attend and put money towards a great cause.
There's many, many hours that go into getting this event to be what it is today, and I get to help on the side of it being raised as much as it being used. So when the patients come in to need a lymphedema sleeve after surgery for their arm, or they've had a breast removed and they need a prosthesis, I am also a fitter, so I see it give back to the community on the other end.
The feeling of changing someone's life, only for the better, is irreplaceable. Without Bats Against Breast Cancer, the patients in Broward County may never receive the treatment they need. For WBTV, I'm Tyler Cohen.
It seems we've reached the end of our show.
If you want to see stories like these and more, make sure to like our Broward Teen News Facebook page.
And tune into Bobcat Broadcast, West Broward's monthly news show.
Signing off, I'm Talia Kaplan.
And I'm Michael Rodriguez. See you next time.